It's week 4, the last week in October, October 24th through the 30th, and this is the time that we live for as whitetail hunters. The pre-rut has finally arrived, and buck activity, especially during daylight, is increasing more and more as we approach November. The October lull is behind us, and bucks are out, finally checking scrapes more often, checking bedding areas, food sources, travel corridors, funnels. Activity in general is exploding, and deer sign is exploding. As you walk in the woods, you're going to start seeing more and more scrapes, rubs everywhere. It's just a great time to be in the woods. Now, being that this is a weekly web show devoted to trail cameras specifically, I do have to say this has got to be one of my favorite weeks to check trail cameras and pull cards across the properties that I'm hunting. Buck movement is increasing, buck activity is really high, and there's always a possibility of seeing new bucks just randomly show up on the property, but it's just not increasing, or bucks are just not randomly showing up. It's in the places that we want to see them as hunters. It's in the green food sources, our food plots that we worked really hard on over the summer. It's in the funnels, it's in the oak flats, it's in those corridors that just make it really easy hunting. Now again, just like last week, a mock scrape tactic for your trail cameras will be a very good tactic. Scrape activity in general will be at an all-time high, and you'll start seeing scrapes and rubs and deer sign just exploding in the woods. But as we progress into the later parts of the week and into the beginning of November, we're going to start seeing those early receptive does come in, and the bucks will find those does, and once more and more does start coming in, they'll have their hands full. They won't be checking scrapes nearly as often. So scrapes will be a good tactic for this week. But as we get out of October and progress into November, a lot will be changing for trail cameras and your hunting in general. You're going to start seeing more aggressive posture. You're going to start seeing those classic pre-rut characteristics in your hunt: grunting, bumping, chasing. You're going to just start seeing a lot more activity in general. Scrapes will be a good tactic, but it'll start waning off as we progress into November. Now this week and this time period is a really exciting time to be in the woods. It's a really critical time to be in the woods, especially if you're chasing a hitless buck and you're just really nervous about getting him. But you will be rewarded with caution. This will be a great week to check trail cameras often. The most recent information on any given buck or on your property just in general will always be very beneficial to you. But you have to be careful when you go in and check trail cameras that often. The trick this week is pressure and not putting any on the bucks that you're hunting, the property that you're hunting, or your stand sites. And that's really hard to do when you're checking trail cameras so often, or you need to be checking trail cameras so often. And the trick is waiting for prime opportunities. Earlier in October, in one of our weekly episodes, we talked about cold fronts and how cold fronts are really good for hunting, getting bucks up on their feet during any time when you're hunting. But they're also really great for checking cameras, because typically when a cold front starts moving through or is moving through, you typically get some really nasty weather or some precipitation, or you get a lot of rain or you get a lot of wind right as the cold front passes. And that's exactly why I'm filming in this old barn this week. We literally have a cold front passing overhead right now, and we got a lot of wind, we got a lot of rain, and we snuck in, we checked all the cards on this property, and we did so without bumping anything, without making a lot of noise, and our scents being washed away with the heavy rain that's coming in later tonight, giving way to colder temperatures in the morning. But this card pull right before those colder temperatures hit is critical information, and we got just that. Now last week we talked about the October lull, slow deer movement that people do perceive as a lull, and kind of thinking and perceiving that a lot of factors were going to come together on this property and kind of force a lull situation upon us. Beans had turned, about 100 acres of corn was combined off the front of the property, which was a lot of cover and security. Bedding areas were changing, habitats changing, the hunting pressure that we put on the property was kind of skewing deer movement on the property. So thinking that all those factors were going to come together and kind of give us slower deer movement, we went ahead and changed tactics and moved all of our old trail camera sites that weren't probably going to give us a lot of information back further, where there was standing corn, a lot more oaks, a lot more acorns, better bedding areas, especially as we get into November. We actually found a great spot to hang a muddy. It's where a standing cornfield came together with a river bottom and actually a big south slope with a lot of acorns, a lot of big oaks on it. Where all those came together, there was actually a big natural scrape right at the end of that cornfield. We went ahead and hung that muddy on that last week, and when we checked cameras during this cold front, as the nasty weather was going through, we went ahead and took a stand. We cut right through the middle of that cornfield. It was a great entry and exit route where we weren't going to be disturbing much. Went ahead and hung that stand just because we were so excited. We thought that would produce, that particular trail camera site would produce. And sure enough, we were rewarded with seeing Dub Deuce again. We haven't actually seen him since those beans had turned. since that staple food source turn, he definitely moved, and we actually found him again. So he actually checked that scrape several times, several different nights. So we feel pretty confident in that set. Now this is really great information, but anytime you get a hitless buck, it's great information. But it's really critical right as the cold front is passing overhead, because you have the nasty weather, you have the wind, you have the rain, you have all that nasty weather that's stressing deer out. It's not making them want to move very much. And as that temperatures start dropping, as the weather starts clearing up, and the days following a cold front, and the temperature stays low and the pressure stays high, should be a great couple of days of hunting. So for this week, the takeaway tip should be to check your trail cameras often, but do so during prime opportunities, during nasty weather, during wind, during rain. Don't put a lot of pressure on your property, but get as much information as you can. This is a prime opportunity. This pre-rut period, this week, is a prime opportunity. If you find back a hitless buck after moving your trail cameras around, get aggressive and go after him. This is the week to do so.